What's happening, guys? Something strange is happening in Europe at the moment. Everyone seems to be drumming up for war. The US is taking more of an isolationist approach, and so the European countries they're realizing that without the US they're not very strong, so they've got to build up their militaries. And with Russia knocking at their door and the Ukraine conflict going on, it seems like the European governments are in a bit of a panic. So let's see what Paul Joseph Watson has to say.
Somewhat concerning ripple of alarm is spreading throughout France after the government announced it will issue a 20-page survival manual to its citizens in order to prepare for an imminent threat to the country. A new 20-page booklet reportedly includes 63 measures to help the French in case of armed conflict, as well as natural disasters, industrial accidents, or a nuclear leak. It will contain advice on how to protect yourself and those around you, what to do if a threat is imminent, and details of how to get involved in defending your community, including signing up for reserve units or firefighting groups. The somewhat apocalyptic literature will also feature recommendations for citizens to stock up on tinned food, batteries, a torch, as well as medical supplies like paracetamol. And, wait for it, at least 6 litres of water. Wow, calm down, this isn't doomsday preppers. I mean, who hasn't got all that stuff in their house already? The booklet has unsurprisingly drawn mockery, with some dubbing it the end of the world for dummies. The obvious inference to make is that this survival guide is related to the war between Russia and Ukraine. Although even to the most alarmist observer, the chances of Moscow invading Paris seem somewhat slim. And authorities have specifically denied that this is the primary reason. Officials from the General Secretariat for Defense and National Security, who were tasked with drawing it up, were cited as insisting that the aim was, quote, absolutely not to uniquely prepare the population for the prospect of war. Still, if and when Russian special forces do go door to door, who wouldn't be calmed and reassured by the knowledge that they have 6 bottles of Evian and a fresh pack of AA batteries on standby? Seems...
Hang on, I just want to check that real quick because it said unlike Sweden. So does that mean Sweden's got one of these as well? So let's check it. Let's have a look. Conflict book. I don't know. Don't know what we'd be looking at, to be honest. Let's see what it's actually called. Survival manual. Sweden survival manual. Looks like is this the Swedish one? Yeah, war survival guide. So Sweden does actually have a survival manual for an attack, but they are very close to Russia. Although Russia would have to get through Finland before they get close. And then we've got the French one. Let's see. I guess it will be in French, so it's going to be hard for us to read it without using translate. Survival manual. Yeah, interesting. So it's coming in the summer, so that'll be in a few months' time. So I guess it's not done yet. To all residents of Sweden. This has already been translated, it would seem. Military defense, civil defense. So Sweden has already got one in preparation. Interesting. Every French household this summer. What's that in June? Norwegian booklet and the Swedish model. So both Norway and Sweden have a booklet like this. They've released recently, I suppose. Interesting. Yeah, something is happening.
threat to the country. The obvious inference to make is that this survival guide is related to the war between Russia and Ukraine, that this is the primary reason. Officials from the General Secretariat for Defense absolutely forces do go door to door, who wouldn't be calmed and reassured by the knowledge that they have 6 bottles of Evian and a fresh pack of AA batteries on standby. Seems to me this warning is largely pointless, unless its intention is to keep the population in a general state of anxiety and alarm.
Most likely that is the case.
Sweden sent a similar...
I mean, that's what these governments do, right? They do just... There's constant panic. There's constant crisis happening. There's never a chill time, is there? Right, it's either a pandemic or there's a war or there's something to do with the economy. There's going to be a crash, like there's a new president, there's some kind of division. There's always something. You know, Sweden's Doomsday, Prep for Dummies Guide hits mailboxes. Yeah, so they released that in November. There we go. So that answers the question. If crisis or war comes, 32-page guide. I wonder how many people would actually read it, though. A lot of people don't actually read books, do they? They don't even read brochures or anything like that, let alone, 32-page book. The average person doesn't read, so I don't know how. I mean, are they going to be teaching this in schools or what?
Booklet to its citizens last year, and Finland just sent an even more worrying message to its population, telling them to set up fallout rooms and store enough drinking water for the whole family for 4.
So Sweden, Norway, Finland, they've all issued these books, and then France has followed suit.
14 days. Once approved, every household in France will receive the booklet before the summer. Presumably by that time, most people will have been able to secure their maxi pack of bottled water that will surely see them through the coming Armageddon.
Yeah, interesting stuff. I'm sure there's more in the book than what Paul Joseph Watson says. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, we could go through it, but I don't want to do that right now on video. Crazy that Europeans tell us Americans that we're crazy for wanting to keep our guns. Yeah, got a point, right? It's going to be very difficult to invade the US, that's for sure. France is already invaded. It's not by Russia. Let's have a look at some of these replies. Just like us in Britain, I think we know who they're talking about. France is my least favourite Muslim country. At this point, Putin will be greeted as liberator. Military-aged men for the Middle East, and parts of Africa, Russia is the least of their concerns. Yeah, so a lot of the comments here are just about like the French immigration policy as well as Britain. Britain, I just saw a video today about their two-tier policing system as well, which is, funnily enough, that's what all the riots were about just a few months ago. And the government was saying, this is a load of nonsense. There's no two-tier policing system, and then they just brought it in straight after the riots. It's so weird, like what happens in these countries and what these governments are allowed to get away with. These politicians are allowed to get away with this stuff. It's just outrageous. Yeah, so a lot of people are more concerned about the immigration issue in Europe and particularly France for this video than what's going on in Europe for at least these these viewers and these commenters. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think this is crazy that France, Sweden, Finland, Norway, they've issued these survival guides in preparation for something? Do you think this is just common practice? It's just the standard for countries in this region of the world? Do you think something else is going to be happening in the near future? Are they preparing for something either for them to do? European countries have been talking about going to war for some time now, actually sending troops to Ukraine. Or do you think that maybe they realize that with the US having withdrawn, that now they're very vulnerable and they're just basically preparing their population for something that's going to be coming, in terms of like the Russian threat, if at all that is going to be, what happens if, for example, Russia goes into Ukraine? Are they going to go into the other countries? I don't know. Some people think that Russia will, just like the old Soviet Union did, but I'm not too convinced that is what would happen. So let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.